Welcome to this episode of The World According to the Blind Dog. FYI, for 27 years I was a carpenter. I started out pouring concrete, setting forms, pouring concrete. I moved up to framing houses, and then for a while I was doing remodeling, which include all phases, and I've done roofing. I've done a lot of it, but I specialized in the carpenter work, and that's where I really made my money and some notoriety. I was known for not only my skills, but also the fact that I always had the best music playing on the job site. Not necessarily the loudest, but the best. And that was, the homeowner said so. Anyhow, I got on this job over in Terrytown. Quick little history. Terrytown, back in 1850 something, it was a big ranch, like 365 acres. And time progressed, and it eventually got sold. I think at one time, the daughter of Governor Peace owned it, and it eventually started getting split up, and they formed something called the Enfield Realty Group, and eventually it just began splitting up and splitting up as things do. But Terrytown in Austin, Texas is one of those towns, one of those parts of town where it's an old established neighborhood from back in the 30s. And people that are making money buy these old houses and they just tear them down, haul them off in dump trucks, and build obscene displays of wealth to impress their neighbors and their business partners and whoever. But it's actually a very pretty part of town. It's a very old part of Austin. It's over there where Muni is. If you've ever heard of the municipal golf course, that's it over there. It's an old part of town. And I got hired on doing a job, doing some remodeling. And with that remodeling came all the usual old remodeling problems, such as trying to get the plaster off the walls, trying to get the lath and the plaster off the walls. There's just no easy way to get it off the walls and in the dumpster. It's a nasty, physical, terrible business, and I probably cut 5-6 years off my lifespan breathing some of that stuff. And that brings me to the next thing, and we encountered asbestos all the damn time. But I'm not going to tell you my asbestos story for fear it might incriminate me. But I'm going to take the fifth. My first day on that job, my coon-ass buddy Willie, he straight up told me, "Uncle Jesse, there's something weird about this place, man. This place has got something going on, you know." And Willie's 100% coon-ass from New Iberia, Louisiana. And I have to tell you, people in Louisiana haven't lost that sense that it takes to pick up on stuff like that. But so I said, "Okay, cool, Willie. You know, I'll keep an open mind." And it was a Friday. It was after lunch. My boss had already stopped by to give me my check. I told him I was going to work till 3. He paid me till 3. So after he took off, I made sure that there was nobody I could see right away anywhere around. I decided to make sure the perimeter of the job site was secure and up to the safety protocols of the day. Those of you that know. Those of you that don't probably never will know. But anyhow, I had walked around that entire property conducting my safety protocols, and there was nobody on that job site. I was the only person on that job site. I'm walking around, checking out the scenery. Nobody's there. It's time for me to go back to work. I work for a little while. I pick up my tools for a little while. Work for a little bit longer. I pick up my tools. And by that time, the only thing I had left was my cordless drill. And I was working in the garage. We'll look at the picture here in a minute. But I was working in the garage. So here you have the lot. I remember the tennis courts being back there. And here's the house right here. This is the main house. The bedrooms were over this way. Kitchen and whatnot was in here. And this was the garage, and that's the room on top of the garage. It had a window in this reverse gable, and then it had windows on this side. Over here is the bathroom side of it. And right under there is where I was working. Here's a bigger shot of the house. Yeah, right there. Okay, here we are at the house. It's pretty well overgrown. They have a lot of big trees back in here. But I'm going to turn the camera around and you will see the garage, the windows in the garage. It's a converted garage. It was the room above the garage in which I encountered the entity. But turn in the camera. That's the house back in there. That's old Doc Shuley's house. Beautiful piece of property. The garage itself was an actual add-on after the fact. And above the garage, there was a room, there was a bathroom, and a set of stairs that went up to that room. Underneath that set of stairs, we built a nice little drawer, cabinet door, storage complex. It was really quite inventive, I thought, And I was just finishing up the drawers. They had full extension drawer guides on there. I'm adjusting it, make sure everything's working real good, smooth and everything. Nobody on the job site. Nobody on the job site. And next thing I know, there are steps. I can hear footsteps going up the stairs right there above my head. I couldn't really see anything. There was a wall that was dividing the what I could see and the staircase. But had anybody came through there, I would have seen them because I was right there at those stairs. I would have seen them. I would have felt them. Anyhow, I hear the steps and they're going upstairs and I'm going, holy cow, who the heck is this? I hope I didn't get busted. So I get up and I'm starting to look around. There's nobody there. And at this point, I can hear steps, footsteps upstairs in that room, moving about. And I'm like, I'm getting chills just talking about it. I'm getting chills right there as I'm looking up the staircase, and I'm asking myself, do you want to go up those stairs? Well, yeah. I'm going up those stairs. I was a much younger man. I could have probably run away from anything bad, at least for a short distance. But I started to go up those stairs, and I could still hear footsteps as I'm going up the stairs, as I start going up the stairs. And just about the time my head starts clearing the second floor, they stop. Quiet. No sound, no nothing. And I finish my trip upstairs. And I walk around that whole little apartment above the garage. I looked in the closets. I looked in the water heaters. I looked everywhere in that building, in that room, and there was no one in there. I have no doubt of who came to visit that day. So after that occurrence, I began to ask a few questions. I relayed my story, and everybody seemed that it was totally plausible, like I wasn't making it up. I talked to the builder, and the builder told me a little something about the house. At one time, it had been owned by one of the Moody children, and then a doctor bought it, and he was an old school doctor, Dr. Schulle, Schulle. In fact, the street that the house is on is Schulle Street. You can Google it. And he had horses and some outbuildings back there and places to pasture his horses. If you saw the tennis courts in the picture, I remember them. They were there when I worked on that house, but none. And he was an old school doctor. He would hitch up his horse and grab his doctor bag, and he would go to different patients all over town and doctor, and then come back, and stable his horse and whatnot. He had one of the largest acreages. He had like 3 acres back in there. That's a pretty good sized lot for Terrytown. But at one time, the house was heated by a fuel oil system. And I learned this from the homeowner. At one time, it was heated by a fuel oil system. And somehow or another, that thing blew up and sent a blast wave through the heating ducts and everything. And it blew the registers off the wall. And anybody that's done remodeling, especially old houses, will tell you those registers are made in the old days out of cast iron. They're heavy. Yeah, they will kill you. And they're not like the aluminum ones that you have in your house today. But anyhow, when that thing blew up, one of those registers blew off the wall and hit a maid and killed her. And that's who came to visit me. And that is the ghost that's haunting that house. That is what Willie was talking about when I first showed up on that job. So, being a good Catholic, you're not supposed to believe in ghosts and things like that. But, I believe. I have absolutely no doubt that was some form of a ghost or an entity that visited me that day. And I'm pretty sure it was the maid, because she probably lived up in that garage apartment. Who knows? I didn't get that far. Do you believe in ghosts? I do. After that, it's hard to convince me otherwise. And I still believe in them. Well, hey, man, thank you for joining me for this spooky edition of The World According to the Blind Dog. Please like and subscribe, and we'll get something up as soon as possible. We've located a new drummer, so we're getting in the studio next week. Hope to get some music up soon. All right, then. Till next time. That's The World According to the Blind Dog.